morning, everyone. Good evening, good afternoon, wherever you are, and welcome to this week's Weekly Energy Boost. My name is Elisheva, and I'm here this beautiful Monday morning with David.
Good morning.
And we are here to share with you the most powerful and practical wisdom and tools around creating goals that manifest, right? The reason we're bringing this up is because we are entering a period this week that is supporting us to completely revamp our future, at least for the coming year. And we're going to spend these next 4 weeks taking care of that topic in bits and pieces, helping all of our listeners and whoever you share the show with to create meaningful goals that have viability, that can manifest, and that will manifest into great things. The Weekly Energy Boost is a 7-day spiritual energy forecast. David and I, spend the week poring over Kabbalistic text and also on the topic, different thinkers, game changers, trendsetters on the topics that we discuss so that we can provide our listeners with the most powerful and most effective methods to traverse the coming 7 days, and those lessons inevitably lend themselves to the entire, or really any day of the year. So we always talk about when the monthly energy changes, we always give we dedicate a few minutes of that week's episode to understanding the energy of the coming month. We're going to do that every week this month, but this Friday night is when that energy shifts, and it shifts deeply and intensely, where the Kabbalists spend those 48 hours immersed in prayer and meditation and study, and we will be doing that. So next Monday when we join you, we'll have turned over a completely new new chapter in our lives, but also, I think more importantly, the lives of the entire planet. Kabbalistically speaking, those 2 days, which traditionally are called Rosh Hashanah. Those 2 days, from a Kabbalistic point of view, are, I think a lot of people hear that phrase, and if they're familiar with it, they think Jewish New Year. The Kabbalists teach that those are the 2 days upon which humanity renews their energy for the year. So we want to make sure that everybody understands, regardless of your religion, your upbringing, your background, if you are a human being on planet Earth, there is a reboot that takes place this weekend. And that's why we're talking about goals, because our intention, our desire, what we want is what really creates what we call in Kabbalah the vessel, or the capacity to receive that fulfillment. And this is something that you talk about a lot, David, in your classes, the idea of desire and creating a vessel, and then how to manifest that. So we're going to talk this week about creating goals. Next week, we'll talk about manifesting them, because it really is a 2-part process, and the universe gives us those abilities in phases for exactly that reason.
We like to bring deep Kabbalistic wisdom to preface the concepts that we share for the week to come. And what a lot of students may not know, a lot of our listeners may not know, is if you take in Kabbalah 1, one of the most powerful things that you learn is that the way the world was created and the way our soul was created. And it's important to know that, because you can refer to it every time you make a decision in your own personal life. So what is the premise of why we're here? It says that there is a concept. The concept is that there is a universal energy that we call the creator, or the light force of the creator. And this light force is infinite goodness. And what the light force did to manifest itself, to reveal itself, it created what's called the vessel, which it desires to receive all of this light. And we are all souls that are part of this vessel. We used to be one soul. However, we as the vessel decided to go through an earning process whereby we wanted to be creators and the generators of light in our own lives. So we chose a world of darkness. And everything that we see in our lives, the relationships that we have, the children that we have, the marriages that we're in, the people we fall in and out of love with, these are all chosen by our soul, because they hold a key to helping us achieve our perfection. There's 2 ways that we achieve our perfection. It says, the Kabbalists share that the first way is, if I don't know any wisdom, if I don't make any effort to learn the universal spiritual laws of life, which Kabbalah is teaching us, What will happen is eventually we will learn how to achieve our perfection, but through pain and through ups and downs and through loss, which is how a lot of people learn and they grow. The other way, the preferred way, is by learning what we're learning. And that's what we're hoping, that when people tap in every week, they're learning these concepts and these secrets. Learning what we're learning, we can both speed up the process towards our perfection, towards fulfillment, towards blessings, towards miracles, number one. And number two, avoid the pain. We've had many shows on pain. And one of the things that we talk about with pain is pain and suffering are avoidable. You don't have to go through pain and suffering. Pain and suffering are the default that the universe, that are really our soul requests to move us in a certain direction because we're asleep. And what we were studying this week, which was so powerful, is this idea that every single one of us has a soul that is so powerful. It doesn't matter what your circumstances are. It doesn't matter even what it looks like right now. It could look ugly. It could look painful. We all have challenges. It could look like you're in a major disadvantage. But your soul is so powerful, has such an ability to manifest a unique blessing that no other soul in this world can do, something to contribute to this world that no other soul can do. Otherwise, you wouldn't have been created. That when do you experience pain? When you're not desiring the endless that your soul is meant to manifest. That means, like, in your heart. This is the first goal that we all need to have. If your number one goal isn't, I want to receive everything my soul is meant to receive, which is endless. It's like I have an endless desire for what my unique soul needs to manifest. If you don't have that goal, it says that because the Creator wants to give you endless, there's this disconnect between you and the universe. And so the universe is trying to push you to do one thing, which is to receive endless. But what happens is we have all these other little goals. I want this person to like me right now. I want this problem to go away. I want
to avoid confrontation.
I want some kind of instant gratification. The instant gratification goals take over during the day. We have tons of them. They're minute by minute. I've heard people say this all the time. I just want
to be left alone.
Yeah, I just want to be left alone for 1 hour. That's all I want.
Right.
And people say it as a joke, but every time you say that, here's what's crazy. When you say, all I want is to be left alone for an hour, you send a signal out to the universe that you say, this is my desire. Then the universe says, wait a second, I need to give you endless. I need to give you love, health, wisdom, certainty. Why is it that all you want is to be left alone for an hour? And that exact moment is what creates a new reality of pain and suffering. Because what pain and suffering does is it pushes a person to ask questions. Pain and suffering pushes us to ask for more. Pain and suffering actually awakens desire. We're asleep, and then somebody wakes us up from that sleep. It's painful. Why'd you wake me up? But all of a sudden now you have a desire. Before you were asleep, now you're alive. So the number one goal, and I have to remind myself of this every minute of the day, because the opponent, that negative force that also came into the world with us to help us earn, his job is to shrink your desire to instant gratification desires.
To tempt you to shrink your desire.
To tempt you to shrink your desire. That's correct.
The goal is for you to say, wait a second, I created this huge laundry list of all of the powerful things I want to do, share. And my opponent is there to tempt me to go to the small pleasures.
That's correct.
The goal is for me to say, get out of my face, get out of my head, don't distract me from the goal.
And the people who are most successful in life are the people who are able to learn from what everyone is saying, criticizing them for, pushing back on them, but they still remember that they have a mission. They stay true to their mission. They move forward. They adjust as they need to. They don't take things personally. Everything's a message. And they keep working hard every minute. They're working. And they're not deterred by small desires. There's this beautiful Kabbalistic story about, there's so many versions of it. But the bottom line is that at one time the king had some kind of a the king needed something. So the king told everyone in the kingdom, if you can find this thing for me, you can have anything in my treasury.
Oh, yes.
You heard the story?
Yes, of course.
So obviously the king needed to find some kind of lost treasure, whatever it was. So someone worked hard. They found the lost treasure. They brought it to the king. The king says, okay, you can have 1 hour to take anything you want from my treasury. So the guy was so excited. Now the king hates departing from any of his crown jewels. So he told all of his servants, he said, this guy, he has 1 hour. So what I want you to do is there's like 7 rooms, 7 chambers on the way to the treasury. In each one of these chambers, I want you to place something that you know he loves. So find out what kind of foods he loves. Find out what kind of music he loves. Find out what kind of women that he feels attracted to. Find out all his addictions, and I want you to put them strategically in each one of these rooms, leading up to the treasury. So the guy comes into, he's going to the treasury. He's ready. He's got his bags of stuff. He's ready to just, take as much gold as possible from the treasury. He gets to the first room, and there's just like this beautiful music. Like there's this woman playing the violin. It's his favorite. He loves the violin. He loves women. She's beautiful. He's just mesmerized. And he's like, you know what? I have an hour. Let me just. This is my favorite song. Like, how did the king know my favorite song? So he's listening to the song, and it's beautiful, and he's mesmerized. And then he's like, oh my God, wait, I got to get up and go. So, 10 minutes later after the music is playing, he goes and he gets to the next chamber. And there's a spread and an aroma of the foods. And I want you guys to try to relate this to your own life. You're on the way to do something, and then you open up your social media or you open up your email, right? Email is like the worst. All of a sudden you get sucked into something, and something
or the phone rings. You were busy working on something and the phone rings, and you get into a drama with a friend or a coworker, and you get wrapped up in it, and then suddenly, where did the day go?
You're watching our Facebook Live right now, and you're paying attention. All of a sudden, there's something's popping up on this and popping up there, and you start to go there. And you know that you shouldn't be going there. You have to focus. But these siren songs that they constantly call our name. And so back to the story, the guy goes through every room, has another thing that the king knows is his addiction. Another one is like a beautiful woman giving him a massage. Oh, you're so tense. Just get a massage.
Where did the hour go?
And then by the time he gets to the treasury, he opens the door.
And it closes.
And the king says, your hour's up. And he never actually got to achieve that which he wanted to.
But that to me is a perfect story that illustrates the idea that, if you want it badly enough, none of those distractions will matter. Right. And that's really this past month has given us the opportunity to reflect on what did we set out to accomplish last year? What did we accomplish? And what's left on the to-do list? And I spoke with somebody at the end of last week, and she said to me, I remember, last year you shared with me about how at the end of this month of Virgo, it's like we're squeezing the energy out of the toothpaste tube from last year, and we're going to get a fresh toothpaste next week. This is the same exact time period where we're really finishing the energy of all of the things we asked for and desired last year in this time period, whether we were conscious of it or not. And for those of you that are tuning into for the first time, or you're new to our show, what's really amazing about what we're sharing is that this was happening on an unconscious level, whether you were aware of it or not. And this will be happening to all of humanity this week, whether they're aware of it or not. So, I imagine that there's people all over the world who this week will suddenly be struck with the thought of, what am I doing with my life? How many people, billions of people this week are going to have, where am I headed? What happened to me? Why am I in this? And they'll start to think of, reassess and look at where do they want to go out of nowhere, quote unquote, when it's really the cosmic energies that are asking us to look at how full our tank is and what do we need to fill it more. And the teaching that I always lean on in this time, when it comes to desire, is, who was it? Simon Sinek? Someone wrote a book called What's Your Why?
Yeah, that was him.
What's your why? And of course he has it on the business spin, right? Businesses that have the
he was
strong,
talking about Apple, I think. I remember that.
Strong ethical or moral or, the more far-reaching their goals, whatever. Again, I'm not in the business realm, so I don't remember the exact gist of it. But the question I ask a lot of people in this time, and I'm posing to all of you who are listening now, whether you're listening this week in the next 7 days, or you're listening next June, and you happen to fall upon this podcast, is what is your why? And when you think about what is my why, right? Why do I have the goals that I have? Why do I want the relationship that I'm looking for? Why do I want my kids to grow up to be successful or contributing individual? Why do I want to lose 20 pounds? Why? Thinking about the why is really going to help you weed out the I just want an hour of peace and quiet desires, and focus on the ones that are going to lead you not only to a more meaningful life, but also the achievement of those goals. Because if any of those, whys are because my father told me I never would be able to, you might want to scratch that off your list, because there is not a whole lot of support you're going to get from the universe to prove your father wrong. You're going to get much more support from the universe to, if your why is, I want to help other people, or I want to be able to use all of the gifts and blessings that I've received to make a difference in the world. Proving your father wrong is actually going to attract, what David was saying, more chaos than it is results.
I want to say something about what you just said. And I like to sometimes include deep Kabbalistic wisdom that we lace into some of these modern day concepts. And those of you who have taken Kabbalah 1, I mentioned, we talk about this whole idea of the endless, the light in the vessel were as one, and then we came to this physical world. The light is concealed, and now we need to reveal the light. We do that through two main ways. It says that this is our tikkun, our correction. We have two corrections in this world. Number one, a person must earn, seek out, desire, pray for the way they can bring value to this world, the way they can bring energy, light. And sometimes it's not that thing that just hits you upside the head when you're a teenager. It takes time to earn that. So even if you're doing something you don't enjoy, you don't love, you don't feel you're manifesting yourself, it's okay, be patient. Michael Berg gave me the advice that a person every day should ask for and pray to the light of the Creator, reveal to me my purpose, and to be really open, and then to listen to the signs. But it's something you have to ask for probably hundreds, if not thousands of times before the beginnings of it get revealed to you. And the second aspect of our tikkun, of our correction in this world, in order to receive the endless light and have endless blessing, is we have to observe every day as they come up gradually, our negativity, our fears, our negative intentions, all the insecurities we have. And there's so many. They're layers of an onion, and they come every year, new layers and new layers. And to be excited, never to take it personally. When someone brings out the worst in you, when someone is pressing the buttons that are your weaknesses, to pause. You say pause, and we say what a pleasure, because you're accepting this moment as a revelation of your correction, not as a how do I fix this problem, how do I get this person away from me, how do I go back to being comfortable. Because remember, we want endless desire, so I need to achieve my correction to receive endless. If I'm always just pushing people away, blaming everyone, being a victim, even if I'm right, who cares about right? I want the light. It doesn't matter, because it's all about that endless. So those are the two reasons why we came to this world. But what I wanted to actually say, that was a preface to something else. What I wanted to say is this idea that when the world was created, it says after the endless, there was actually those billions of years scientifically, because the Bible and science actually line up perfectly. People don't know that unless they know Kabbalah, because Kabbalah is the deeper understanding of the Old Testament. That there was actually billions of years of the dinosaurs and all that history that science shows us. And it says that the world was actually destroyed 63 times. So the dinosaurs could have been one of them, but there was actually destruction in the world 63 times until there were human beings that had souls with the correction and the free will to transform them. We call those human beings, a code name, just Adam and Eve. So those are the first souls that had a correction process that occurred, approximately almost 6,000 years ago. This is according to Kabbalah, but it also lines up with science. And the main, and I preface that just to share the history, because I know that's interesting to people. But the main correction of all human beings is the first thing that we said, which is, what is your desire? What is your goal for the moment you wake up in the morning? Wanting endless and being careful of the instant gratifications that steer you away. And then number two, when you want something, you feel that you're missing something. So the big secret, as I've learned it in Kabbalah, is to want and then to immediately feel that you have. And to want and to feel that you have. So a person says, I want a relationship, and then they should say, I have everything I need. I already have a relationship. And to be careful, because sometimes people, when they feel they already have, they don't have a craving anymore. So they go back to sleep. But I want, and I already have. So why do I need a relationship if I already have? Because I want to reveal my soul's purpose. It's not about I need something. It's I want something, I have it, I'm already complete, I'm already whole. Now let me go out and reveal it, because that's my soul's purpose. So you start to do it for a higher purpose. That's what Elisheva said. Elisheva said, if I'm doing something to prove something to my dad, then that's selfish, and the universe is not going to support you. That's feeding your lack. But if you say, my dad already loves me, my dad's criticizing me every day, your dad's putting you down every day, you say, no, my dad already loves me. I am one with my dad. It's unbelievable. I've already proved everything I need to prove to my dad. So now what? So now go out and make some money.
You know, David just gave some very high-level Kabbalistic wisdom, which I know that's a lot of what our listeners love to hear. I want to pull it back to like the 6-year-old version, right? All you 6-year-olds out there who listen to the podcast. You know, honestly, when we start having the conversation about Kabbalah with children, what we do, and we used to do this with adults as well, we make a list. Imagine I have this board and we're making a list of all the things you want in life, right? You're going to say, I want a big house, I want a nice car, I want 7 figures in the bank, I want a clean bill of health from my doctor, I want the trophy wife and the brilliant children, and people list, I would say 90% of the things in that initial question. Maybe for the children, it's, I want Barbies, I want a PlayStation, I want my best friend to be my sister, I want to live at Disneyland, I want to eat pizza and chocolate for breakfast, lunch, and dinner, right? They come up with this great list of physical things that they want. And then we talk about, or even let's say good grades. Kids often say they want to get good grades or they want to do well in school. So then on the other side of the board, we write, well, let's go one by one and ask you, how do these things make you feel? How does the trophy wife make you feel accomplished? How does the 7 figures in the bank make you feel secure? And we come up with this list. Inevitably, people realize, what we really want is the intangibles, the feelings that come from the physical achievement. And the conversation, I love it with the kids because they have this like jaw-dropping aha moment. They wouldn't care if they could get the feeling that they get at Disneyland from a piece of gum or from a book that they read. They'd not want to go to Disneyland. They're looking for the feeling they get from Disneyland, not the drive to Disneyland or the stay at the hotel, all the things that they think are fun about it. Even 6, 7, 8-year-old kids understand, I want the energy from within it. And so part of this conversation ends up being, when we talk about setting goals and achieving them, right? We don't want to just say, if you're now, looking for a job and not really sure which direction you want to go in, and saying, well, I want to make $10 million this year, might not be, I'm not an expert, but it might not be easily achievable. The better goal would be, I want to live in abundance and I want to be making at least X amount of, but the real thing is that the energy, right? And so oftentimes I say to people in this time of year, make a list of what you want to be, right? Who do you want to be? Now, what ends up happening is, let's say you come up with the list, I want to be confident, abundant, prosperous, healthy, trustworthy, wise. People write beautiful things on this list. It's from the to be list that the to do list emerges. What do I need to be wiser? Nice. What do I need to be?
The to do comes. I like that.
Right. And that's how the goal is achievable, because the goal isn't something physical. You may need, in order to be healthy, you may need to make lifestyle changes. In order to be more trustworthy, you may need to work on those dishonest behaviors, or should show up as a friend or a partner or as a child or a coworker differently. But focusing more on the energy you want to feel and to have people feel from you is a better roadmap to the external success. Because what ends up happening, we work with people all the time who achieve what they want externally, but still feel empty. This is the antidote for that plague, is thinking about and making that list of what do I want to be, who do I want to be, how do I want to feel, and what do I want others to feel from me. And then the action list, the to-do list, what are the physical goals I have? They're all leading me to that first to-be list. And I think that if, just shifting our perspective on what does accomplishment mean, right? How many people do you know who got married, finished their degree, got the promotion, moved to their, bought their own place or whatever it is, and it's a source of chaos for them? Because the shell is never going to bring the fulfillment. It's the essence, the energy inside that brings the fulfillment. And that's something we talk about, every third or fourth episode here. But really shifting our intention, our desire this week is going to have a powerful ripple effect on everything we do in the coming year.
Our question for our audience, which I would love for those of you who are watching us live and you're with us in the chat, you could put in the chat, because it helps us understand who you are, where you're coming from, and gives us content. But if you can write the last time you were criticized, and criticized about what? And I think it's very valuable, because this is a tip about being criticized that is parallel to the lesson we just learned about setting goals. You have a goal about achieving something. So let's say, and I bring this on the heels that right before the show, Elisheva said, last week we were criticized so much. I said, what do you mean? She's like, yeah, people wrote so many negative comments about us last week. I said, oh, show me. I said, I didn't see them. And so she shows me, this is like 2 minutes before the show, like all these comments that people wrote. Oh, you guys don't have chemistry. You this, whatever they said. And we've been criticized our whole life. And something, and I used to take things really personally way back when. And when something is new and fresh and said in a very unique way, you take it personally in the beginning.
If it's not an old criticism, you take it personally.
It's not an oldie. It's not enough. If it's a new one, it can hit you.
You get tired of certain ones after a while.
It's like a chewing gum that loses its flavor. So it just reminded me a good tip about how to handle criticism is that you have a goal to achieve something. Criticism comes to highlight your limitations. And it says that the Creator puts in people's mouths negativity about you because it's true. This is something very interesting that I learned, that anytime someone says something negative about you, it's the Creator put it in their mouth. So it's true. There's truth to it. Yes, they have their own correction. Yes, they're taking it personally. Yes, maybe they're projecting. Yes, they're not happy at home and all those things. That's fine, but we can't lose sight of the fact that everything comes from the Creator. So when someone says something negative about you, the Creator is putting it in their mouth to say it to you. Now, what are you supposed to do? You're supposed to realize two things. Number one, that you have a goal, and to achieve your goal, the Creator is sending certain people to point out negative belief systems, negative qualities, negative issues. And maybe it's not exactly what people say, but it could be how it makes you feel could be the negativity. Right? Someone could say something like, I hate your purple hair. You don't have purple hair, but it makes you feel judged, and you have an issue because you think everyone's judging you. So that could be the correction. So it's not about exactly what they say. It can be what they say. It can also be how it makes you feel. We learned that in Kabbalah 1, trigger and mirror corrections. So what I want to say about that is you have to say, okay, what is this criticism? How is it going to make me strong? Because the word givura, which is judgment in Kabbalah, it's a dimension of light. It also means like to make strong, to strengthen. So
and it's also connected to the word of to overcome.
To overcome, that's right. So when someone criticizes you, whether it's true or not. You should believe there's truth to it. And you should say, okay, how can I allow this to strengthen me and to help me overcome? And as soon as you do that, that's what pause, what a pleasure is, essentially. That's as soon as you do that, you enter what's called the tree of life, and the light of the Creator shines on you. Actually get closer to your goal. At the same time, you have to believe that there's nothing wrong with you. So right before the show, it kind of like someone said something, and then I'm like, oh, am I doing something wrong? And then I reminded myself of going on the show. There's nothing wrong with us. You have to believe that. There's nothing wrong with you. At the same time, I want to improve upon what the person said. So that's the secret of handling criticism. Anything beyond that, you're either being defensive or you're causing the universe to send it back to you again in a Groundhog Day scenario. And, who likes the person that's always deflecting and saying, no, nothing wrong with me, it's wrong with you, right? We kind of look down on that person. So you have to always believe there's nothing wrong with you. And at the same time, you can use that criticism to grow towards your goal. And you should always learn something from it.
I think David brings up a great point, because within that, I use the example of to prove my dad wrong. By the way, I'm not trying to do anything to prove my dad wrong, by the way. Just I always worry that
Dad,
people,
if you're watching.
which he's not, he doesn't have Facebook, but you know what I'm saying? The best examples for me are the ones that come from my students, because it's fresh in my mind.
Sure.
And I know that I'm hearing them for a reason. And I know oftentimes it's because they're so relatable and I get to share them on the show. The motivating factor for a lot of if we're honest with ourselves, for a lot of our growth and transformation or our physical, tangible goals are external, right? We have a very popular phrase in the United States, keeping up with the Joneses, right? There's a lot of people go into the professions that they go into because their parents expect them to. And what David brought up about criticism made me think of it, because, criticism is one of the most powerful spiritual tools we have, as long as we don't let it control us. And all of the upbringing that we chose to, Kabbalah teaches that we choose our families, which means we choose our upbringing, we choose the unique programming we get from not only our parents as individuals, but the cultures they were raised in, their own upbringings. It's this amazing matrix of precision on how we choose to be raised, literally. And part of this yearly reflection that the universe inspires us to do, and the wisdom that the Kabbalists provide us in having the maximum impact with that goal setting and hitting refresh on the computer screen of our life, we got to ask ourselves, actually, maybe I'll take the technology one too far. Look at your phone and ask yourself how much memory is being taken up by apps I don't use, or by apps that don't serve. You may have dating apps on your phones that you're not using, or shopping apps on your phone that you're not using. This is the time that the universe wants us to look at take stock and delete what's no longer serving us. If you have the soundtrack in your mind of criticism from somebody you were with 25 years ago, or your parents are telling you the same thing they've been telling you since you were 17, ask yourself 1 second, how much of what I'm doing, whether my career, my relationships, or even just the way that I take care of myself as an individual, my health, my spirituality, my mental health, etc., how much of it is determined by external people or things making me feel that way, making me think that's really important, making me feel I should or shouldn't be or feel or do certain things or not do certain things. Really washing, I'm looking in front of me, I have a blank computer screen, nothing saved on the desktop, and I'm thinking, God, that looks so weird. Why isn't there anything on the desktop?
No, it's a Windows.
That's what we need to do. We need to wipe off everything on the desktop and ask ourselves, what do we really want to be there? Now, you may live in an apartment building and you can't wipe out your neighbors, right? We're not encouraging anything drastic or violent, but to think about, wait a second, I don't have to let them bother me the way they do. I can wake up in the morning, and one of the things that in preparing for today's show, I was looking at a seminar I gave in 2017. And the notes, one of the things I had written in those notes, it was about goal setting, was, maybe it was even 2016, was, the number one excuse why people don't achieve their goals is they don't have time. Right? You take they also say if you want to get something done, give it to a busy person, right? We all have 24 hours a day and 7 days a week. Nobody has more time or less time than anyone else. But it's rather and I'm relating this to the delete what doesn't serve you anymore. How much time are you giving to things that are either dead weight or are not really, you're just doing it because you've always done it or because you think you should, but it's not really essential to your goals or the essence of who you are or want to become. Get rid of those things. Don't let your time, which is, according to the Kabbalists, the only thing that actually belongs to us is time, right? All of the gifts that we receive, all of the wisdom, all of the blessings are ours on loan. Our time is really our only commodity, our only currency. So what are you doing with it? And how you shift what you're doing with that currency is a big factor in how possible it is to achieve those goals.
3 weeks, always 3 weeks before Rosh Hashanah, because Rosh Hashanah is the day where the infusion of all the potential energy that you need for the whole year starts to come down. It comes down in a 10-day period because for the 10 dimensions, the first 2 days are the seed, and that's why it's the most important, and we focus on it a lot. But one of the things I do is I have things that I do kind of to help me recharge. It's like my downtime recharge. Even those things I remove in the 3 weeks before because of how important these 3 weeks are. I was speaking to somebody today, and tell me if you guys can relate to this, those of you following us live. I gave a task to someone, which is an important task, and I knew it was going to take up a lot of their time this week. And they said, wow, this is a lot of work. I'm probably going to have to spend less time with, I'm kind of improvising what he said just for the show. He said, I'm going to spend a little less time with my family maybe, or something legitimate to get the work done. I said, or maybe you just delete the TikTok app for 1 week because you spend about an hour on that a day. and it's interesting that sometimes...
You watch the person's face fall.
And it's interesting that sometimes when we want to achieve something that's important, we rationalize how we're going to stop something else, which is important, when in reality there's actually there's probably things that we're doing that we need to cut those out first that are purely just for entertainment. And his answer to me was, no, but I need that to have energy to be productive. So I would also challenge people that the thing that you use to give you energy to be productive, that kind of that downtime, that selfish thing, it's also good once in a while to let it go, because then you strengthen, you rejuvenate your consciousness, you rejuvenate your muscles, you rejuvenate your spiritual muscles, and it shows you new things. Don't be afraid to let go of some of those addictions that we've rationalized of having them in our lives, even if it's for like 1 week at a time. Another thing I wanted to talk about, a comment on based on what Elisheva said, is there's this concept that you can't jump to perfection in spirituality. The phrase that they use is lishma. Lishma means the perfect way of doing something. I'm improvising that word a little bit too for our audience, but it's the perfect way of doing something. It's the ultimate way with the best intention. So the sages tell us you should start something that is lo lishma, which is for the wrong intention, only because you don't have the strength to do it, or maybe you know that you're pacing yourself, with the intention of getting to the right intention. That the example they give is with like children. Sometimes you have to bribe children to do a good act, right? So my kid, every time I say, do you love me? I say it to my 2-year-old. I say, I love you. Do you love me? He just looks at me. And I say, I have a gummy for you. Do you love your dad? And he says, I love you, Dad. And he says it, and then I give him the gummy. It's like I'm training him just to use those muscles in his mouth. I love you, Daddy muscles. But the point is, yes, he's saying it simply because he wants the candy. It's still sweet to hear it from him. However, eventually he better elevate to the right intention of saying I love you. But that's what we do with our children. We train them, we bribe them so they can form a habit that eventually they will do from their own volition and their own desire. So it is totally fine, and no one should beat themselves up if they're not achieving a state of perfection in anything that they do. And even with your career, you're allowed to do things you don't enjoy, maybe just to pay the bills. You're allowed to work hard in an area that you don't even believe in. But you do so knowing you're making an effort, and eventually the universe will guide you to the right place. But don't ever lose sight of your goal that you want to get to that perfect place.
We had some questions in the comments. I want to just clarify. When I said before that time is the only thing we own, meaning it's actually ours. We really get to decide what to do with it. That's what I meant. Of course, time we teach I'm sure in a few shows ago we talked about how time is an illusion and everybody got excited about that. But the point is my 7 days a week, my 24 hours are mine to decide what to do with them. One of the funny things that happens is when I act, a little bit too controlling or possessive about my time, the universe will come to show me how important it is to learn to pivot and to be open, to be shown, maybe what I'm doing right now isn't the best use of my time. And it sometimes happens, when you're apropos watching a video or listening to something on your phone and then someone calls. Right. And in that split second, you have the opportunity to decide, what am I doing? What's really the highest level of utilization of my time right now? And yesterday I was actually listening to some really interesting stuff related to this process that David and I were talking about. And somebody called and I thought to myself, what should I answer, or should I finish up this video? I was writing notes and everything. It wasn't like a music video. Not that I have anything against music videos, but I was essentially studying. So I said, should I finish studying and call them back, or should I stop studying and talk to them? And eventually I did decide to finish writing everything because I felt like I was in the zone.
Yep.
And I wanted to, I promised myself I would dedicate 2 hours yesterday to doing the study. I did it. I finished it and I called the person. But that moment of, what was I really asking myself? What is the highest use of the next 7 minutes of my life? Is it going to be to stay immersed in this bubble of learning, or is it going to be to step aside and potentially help the person who's calling me? And I'm sharing that because exactly in that specific situation, both things are a revelation of light. Both things are an elevated, meaningful experience. One is helping someone, and one is studying. And one of the things that the Kabbalists teach is that everything you study, you should study to share with someone else. So here's the paper. The idea was being able to take in that, you don't have 20 minutes to make that decision when the phone is ringing. So it was like really a 7-second decision. I chose one, and my goal was to reveal the maximum light possible. That part of that decision, or, I'm sharing that example also because in our goal setting in the next, let's say, 7 days or so, and next week provides us with another opportunity to do even more of this reflection process that we'll share next week. But knowing that my ultimate goal every day when I wake up in the morning is to reveal the maximum light possible, if that's my goal on a day-to-day basis, and that's a goal that I set at the beginning of the year, the goal is to every day of this year reveal the maximum light possible, I also have to remind myself every morning that that's my goal. That's the reason I brought up that specific example, that, a lot of people set out goals. It happens also around end of December, beginning of January, right? Everybody signs up for the gym. And by February, March, nobody's going anymore, right? Or, you decide you're going to run 20 minutes, 30 minutes every day outside, and then the weather gets bad, right? And there goes that goal. It's important to set goals when the universe is supporting us to set goals, but every single morning, the universe supports us to set a goal. The Kabbalists teach that every morning we need to reboot the system again on a smaller level and inject that intention and that desire all over again. And it's those people that have that discipline that actually manifest their goals and get to check things off the to-be list and to-do list, because it doesn't stay out here in some grand idea, but it really becomes a daily part of life that I think that when you break it up into those to be and to do, you can see a lot clearly how simple it is to get there. And so that would be part of my suggestion, is to find a way not only to sit down and make those goals, but to part of that goal making process is the strategy to make sure that those goals don't elude us the rest of the year.
I want to share something. I shared this on a show that really helped me with business, and it's helped my students, and I was suggesting it. And I mentioned to you before the show that we should try to get Marcus back on the show. I think we have 4 more shows about goal setting, goal creation, and literally how to create plans. And we have the spiritual conversation of goal setting, but I think also practically I've spoken to a lot of business owners that don't have goals. That they have like general goals. I want to make money. I want to achieve certain things, but there are specific even business goals. I think I would like to dedicate one of our upcoming shows to helping people understand business goals. I know that 95% of what Marcus spends his time is helping Kabbalah students give consciousness to entrepreneurs and business owners, but also he implements a system that I use in our business, which has been phenomenal. I talked about it on shows in the past, EOS, and I never had Marcus be my EOS coach, but now that I know he implements it with his students, we've been talking about it. So I would like him to come on the show and maybe even talk about that a little bit if we can plan and organize to have him come on the next 3-4 weeks.
Over the next few weeks, we have also Daniel Naor coming back to help us remove some of those limiting thoughts that get in the way of us achieving some of the long-term stuff, which I'm very excited about as well.
Beautiful.
We have about 2 minutes left. I don't know if you want to share anything about how to use this week and this weekend to reveal the maximum.
A lot of people from all around the world are asking us how to connect to that 48 hours. And everyone connects in their own way. It's a little bit hard now because physically we have an event usually with 3,000 people.
This year we're streaming, which that's also an option if you're interested in streaming along with us this weekend, the prayers and meditations and consciousness.
Yeah.
We can put the link in the comments, or if you're listening on the podcast and you want that information, we can email it to you. You can email us for it at energyboost@kabbalah.com or just go to the kabbalah.com website.
Yeah, so there'll be everything will be focused around that. So we'll have an event. I think there's like 200-300 people in New York safely conducting this event and streaming it all around the world. But what I would say for all of those who are listening, if there's one thing to keep in mind during those 48 hours where the gates are open and the future abundance is being determined for you, is not to think about what's wrong with you, and to spend the 48 hours, which starts at Friday sunset, goes into Sunday nightfall, it's about 49 hours, that to achieve a state of there's nothing wrong with me, and a state of perfection.
I was going to say, instead of there's nothing wrong with me, it's I am.
Yeah, I'm connecting to my perfection. So you have to actually feel the perfection, because we know that lack attracts lack and abundance attracts abundance. And there's a time to choose to look inside of ourselves to correct, to take the criticism and correct. And there are times where you need to reflect that you are perfect. Kabbalists say when it comes to sharing, that's a whole nother show. I'm not going to go there. But the bottom line is, during those 49 hours, each one of us should not think about what's wrong with us. We should not be beating ourselves up. We should not think we're missing something. We should avoid the evil eye and the jealousy, because as soon as we look at someone who has something that we don't have, we feel lack. So we want to avoid lack and protect yourself from feeling lack during those 49 hours, and then you have a similarity of form with the abundance that you're supposed to receive for the whole year. That's my best advice. There's a lot of classes. I myself gave like 5-6 classes just in the last 3 weeks about this concept. We have on Kabbalah.com, we have the 30 Days of Virgo, a lot of consciousness about that. On Kabbalah.com, we also have the holiday preparation series. There's 5 seminars with like our best teachers all around the world giving consciousness about that. Those are all the details. The main consciousness for me anyways is there's nothing wrong. I've already achieved my perfection. And then after you have that consciousness, you can work on your perfection for the rest of the year.
And that might mean making executive decisions to not turn on the TV, not check social media, not read the news, but really stay focused in a place of I'm above it.
Oh, you got to create a suitable environment those
Right.
48 hours. You got to really position it in a way where some people just check. I mean, some people check out, they go to a whole new environment, but definitely I turn off technology and I try to disconnect myself from anything that could pull me out of that zone as much as possible.
I do that. No phone, like a digital detox.
Digital detox for sure.
For
during
those
48
24 hours, just focused on my notes of my goals, the prayers and meditations. I make sure to have good food so that
Yeah.
I don't go hungry, or I have a full pot of cold brew in
to
the
be
fridge.
with good people, because
Right.
especially that's important, not to be around people who can potentially bring your consciousness down. Kabbalists say this is called building a fence. So if you try to be spiritual, that's one effort, but all the negative forces, they start attacking you. You have to build a fence, especially in those momentous times like this one.
Right. And so for just to sign off and let you know, this is a conversation we're going to continue for the next 3 shows, and we'll put a cap on it right before the new moon of Scorpio. If you have friends, if you know people that need, well, in my opinion, everybody needs this wisdom, but if you can think of someone who could benefit from hearing this, share it with them. We have a whole library. We are closing in on I think we're getting close to 150 episodes, David.
Yeah, amazing.
We're going to have an anniversary. I think it's in November, anniversary show. But anyway, share the show. We are on Facebook, IGTV, YouTube, all the places.
TikTok. I just got on
TikTok. I don't know that I want people to get onto TikTok.
I'll tell you something. I was skeptical, and then I got on, and I saw it makes Instagram look like a rotary phone. All right, I'm telling you that right now. It's powerful and it's addictive. So I don't open the app to watch stuff because you could be on that thing for hours. I just go to post the content, and I'm trying different things. I'm trying different things. Yeah, I mean, that's what I'm saying. It's dangerous. It's dangerous. So I'm trying different things. So you guys can follow, support, give me feedback on what kind of content. It's totally different than the content I'm posting everywhere else. But trying to find ways to reach out to new audiences and new people, and it seems to be working.
We'll see you next week on the Weekly Energy Boost.